everyone, and welcome to episode 62 of My Mom Sandy. That means we're 7 away from episode 69. We're your hosts. I am Josh Fasten, and the woman next to me is getting either a Pfizer, Moderna, Sputnik, or Johnson & Johnson vaccine, COVID vaccine, tomorrow morning. This is My Mom Sandy.
This will be my last episode. It's Pfizer, actually.
Do they tell you?
Yeah, she told me it was Pfizer.
Okay.
It's funny because everybody that except for your father got Pfizer, but everybody else that I know that have gotten them have gotten the Moderna. So we'll see. I just heard on the radio, I had to run out and pick up a prescription for my mom, and I heard on the radio this gal called into this program, talked to this doctor, and she said she got her first Pfizer vaccine on the 31st of January, and she said I got, a hot local reaction at the site where the shot was given, and it got hot and red, and then it broke out in like blisters, and I'm like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like I've heard things like that. I've heard it gets.
Well, what this doctor said was that it could be that she's actually allergic to ethanol glycine.
Propylene ethanol,
something like that.
ethanol.
That's actually it's a chemical that's in like makeup and lotions and stuff like that. So it's not uncommon, but some people have allergies to it. So anyway, I don't want to do this. Fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard redness, I've heard soreness in the arm, I've heard, I've heard. As I'm sure you have, there's different, stories from different people who've gotten it that, some people are just like, oh yeah, my arm's sore for 24 hours. I'm starting to hear.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm starting to hear people who have gotten their first dose, who've gotten their second dose, who are coming back and who are very sick for like 24 to 48 hours. But the doctors are saying that means the shot's working. So.
Yeah, so if you don't get sick, the shot's not working?
I think the saying is whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's the saying, I believe.
Okay, that works really well.
So I want to... go ahead.
Yeah. So, no, I just... I don't want to hear that. I don't want to get sick. I don't know, our friend Bonnie just had hers a week ago. Her second one. She didn't get sick. She said she had a sore arm for a day. So, I don't know.
So I did want to, I've been trying to do episodes where we kind of get off the topic of COVID because that's what's on the news. But I did want to take a moment, or maybe not the whole episode, but I did want to kind of discuss the whole vaccine thing because you had talked about on previous episodes how you were very much not necessarily, you were never like an anti-vaxxer, but that you just were not necessarily huge on, oh, I need to go get vaccinated. I need to get this vaccine. So I just wanted to kind of touch on it because guaranteed we probably have people listening who have similar feelings to that. Like, well, I don't know if I really want to get it. And, so for you, what was it that changed? What was it that you were like, okay, going from, I don't really think I need to do this right now to, okay, I can go on Tuesday,
Pressure from my son.
Okay, well,
Plus, you hooked me up with somebody, and I don't know if we should mention the person's name, but in that sense. But if I had to go, sit at Dodger Stadium and wait for an hour to get into the parking lot, and then I wouldn't do that. That's just not. That's not who I am. I won't do that. So, when you bring it to my local pharmacy, I probably wouldn't do that either because I'd feel like, what if something happened to me where I needed medical attention? What's the pharmacy going to do? Stick me with an EpiPen and send me on my way? I don't know. I'm not happy about doing it, to be honest. I just kind of feel like a lot of people are getting them, and they are people that I might hang out with, and realizing that even though they're immune from it, they can still transmit it to me, means that I still really couldn't hang out with them.
Right.
And even on top of that, we still don't know, how long does it last? Is it really 95%? Am I going to still get COVID? I don't know.
Well, so that, that's something interesting, right? And I don't, I don't think that there was ever any information that came out that said the vaccine essentially, and this was something even in the beginning that I had talked about, where there was nothing that came out that said, oh, the vaccine prevents you from getting COVID, right? Like, and I had even talked to my friend Peter about this, which was that that's not what the vaccine does. The vaccine actually makes it so that you don't get a severe case of COVID. You can still get it, you can still transmit it, but that it would be a more mild case. Now, in a perfect world, if everybody gets vaccinated, or there's a certain amount of people that have had it, or a certain amount of people who are just immune from, their bodies are too strong so they can't get COVID, then now what you're dealing with is 3 groups of people, and you're not dealing with any severe cases, right? And I think that that's kind of what we're trying to get away from, is having all these people wind up in the hospital, especially the people who are 65 and older, who might have underlying health issues or whatever. It's about saving lives, and it's about making things, or slowly starting to make things safer to get back out into the world,
See, but that's the whole thing, is it going to make it safer? Do we know that that's going to make it safer? I mean, I don't know that I'm going to feel totally safe after. I mean, I won't. I mean, I'm not going to change what I'm doing now in my life. I might feel better about hanging out with what's his name, or hanging out with people, but still, it's like, again, it doesn't, normally a vaccine prevents you from getting something, but this one doesn't do that. It works, I guess, builds your immune system, which is another weird thing, because I heard this doctor just tonight tell this gal with that allergic reaction that she should get tested for antibodies, but it doesn't give you antibodies to it, does it?
So, that's something that's interesting. I was reading an article actually this morning that talked about
antibodies.
Well, it talked about antibodies, but it talked about people that had COVID, and it talks about how if we should get vaccinated, right?
Yes.
And it was basically like, yes, as long as you don't have any symptoms at the time, right, it's probably safe to get vaccinated. The interesting part of it, though, was saying that they're kind of doing studies now because they think that people that have had COVID that have antibodies potentially might not need both shots. And some of the stuff that they were saying was that they had done studies on people that had COVID, had been tested for antibodies, had antibodies. They got one of either the Pfizer or the Moderna. They got one dose, right? And then they went back and did antibody tests, and the antibodies were almost higher. The immune response and stuff was higher than those of the people that had gotten 2 doses, 2 shots, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, I think that it goes back to everything that
I feel like we're all in the lab right now. We're the lab rats.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes back to everything that we've talked about COVID since day one, pretty much. I mean, you can go back and listen to our first COVID episode, right? Which is, they don't know. And I think it's going to be years till they do know. I mean, look, we joke all the time about in 10 years, you have the daytime commercials for the cheap law firms that are like, did you have the COVID, did you have the Pfizer COVID 2020 vaccine in 2020, 2021? If so, you're entitled to compensation. Call this number below at the law offices of JOSH at 3,
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Yeah, that could be where we are at some point. But see, now you've had the disease and I'm getting the stupid vaccine. And to be honest with you, when they give it to the older people, it's really difficult to get compensation for something like that when you're older, because they like give you a lifespan, insurance companies do, and they give you like a productive lifespan as well. So, if you're over a certain age, you're just not productive anymore. You're not worth as much money in a lawsuit.
Well, and I don't like the fact that they, because it's like an emergency, the vaccines have been approved for like emergency use or whatever. The drug companies are not liable until I think they said 2024 for anything that might happen, right? So that's a whole thing too, is that, some of the doctors and some of the people that I've talked to that have been vaccinated are like, look, all the vaccine is doing is essentially tricking the body into producing these, an immune response if it was to get sick.
Super antibodies.
So they're like, it's totally fine. It's totally safe, right? And it's not even that it's like they came up with some like new vaccine. My understanding was they took a vaccine that they'd had or that they'd been working on and they like tweaked it to make it work for this, right? With the spike proteins or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I don't, it could be years until we figure out if this thing's safe. And look, and I think you bring up a good point, which is even the same point of the antibodies, is that no one really quite knows how long this is all good for, right? How you get vaccinated tomorrow, and then you get your second dose in whatever 3 weeks or whatever. Do you have to go back next year in February and do it again?
I don't know.
Right?
And on top of that, I was told that this vaccine may not be good against the South African strain, which means that there could be a booster somewhere in the future. So I don't know. I just, like I said, I don't even want to fucking do it. I really don't. I can't even decide which arm do I want to do it in, I'm right-handed. Do I want a sore right arm? I kind of sleep on my left side, but I also have some pain in my left side. If I were to have a heart attack, that's where I would feel the pain. Do I want it on my left side? Maybe better to have it on my right side. I don't know how to get to the place where I'm going. It's a very stressful situation for somebody my age.
I would do right arm.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Like if your left arm is sore or whatever, and you're just like, oh my God, it could be a heart attack. And and you're like, no, it's just the vaccine. And then you actually do have a heart attack. Bad news bears,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Probably.
But having said that, I mean, I don't know how sore your arm gets. Anyway, whatever. It is what it is. I have to go. You're going to help me do my GPS tomorrow. I hate going places where I haven't ever been before.
Why?
I just don't like it. I don't like, I'm not familiar with the roads. I'm not familiar with the area. I was told that this address that we have is it's one building east of where I have to go. And I'm like, okay, I don't even know where I'm going to be. How am I going to know which is east and west? I don't know.
I mean, look,
anyway,
you're honestly going to...
You want to drive mommy?
You know what? I mean, I wouldn't even... I would totally do it. I have a lot of shit that needs to get taken care of tomorrow. And on top of that, I'm running dangerously low on groceries. So I had like a moment the other day where like I'm trying to like use what I have to eat, Yes. So the other day I opened the freezer and I was like, I knew I was going to make lunch. And I was like, what do I got here? And I was like, all right, I got a half bag of crisp cut fries. All right. I like a good crisp cut fry, So I put those on the pan, but like you can't just have fries. That's not lunch, So I put those in the oven, open the pantry. I'm like, oh my God, I got olives. Oh, chili. I got chili. Okay. Chili. Do I got some Colby Jack vegan cheese in the fridge? Sure do. Boom, chili cheese fries. Now I felt like I was like 14 or 16 and like, I had just gotten super high and I was like, oh, here we go. A snack, You
didn't do that when you were 14.
No, I know, but that's what I'd imagine it would have been like.
Oh, okay. You're going to give me a bad name because you're my drug-free child.
I am. So, I mean, you've talked about it a little bit, but like, the real feelings. How do you feel about everything with the vaccine? I mean, you said you don't want to go. I mean, is that true? Like, are you like, if you could wake up in the morning and be like, no, I'm gonna bail on this. Like, would you?
Well, no, but I did text our contact tonight, and I said, I don't know. Should we say her name? I don't think it really matters because.
I don't know. Maybe just we'll talk about her on next episode. You ask her tomorrow, and then if so, we'll talk about her on next.
Well, because I texted her tonight, and I said I just heard on the news that they're having shortage of supplies, for second shots, and I just want to make sure if I've gotten the first one that I'm going to be able to get the second one. Do you set them aside, or how does that work? And she said, "Don't worry, I have you covered."
There you go.
And then she said she wanted a photo op with my mom Sandy.
She's a fan. You gotta sign something for her.
I felt like saying, no, you don't.
You
don't want a photo op with my mom Sandy.
Sign her a little thing,
Really?
Say
thanks for the shot.
Yeah, to so and so. Thanks for the shot. Now,
ouch.
My mom Sandy.
My neighbor Nancy calls it the Fauci ouchie.
That she
the
would.
Vaccine.
Yeah, she would.
Fauci ouchie. I don't think she made it up. I think she heard it somewhere else. But yeah, that's what she called it.
Now let me ask you this question about the vaccine: if it works let's just say that it's all on the up and up, right? And everything's fine. And you get your first dose, you get your second dose in 3 weeks or whatever, and you're fine, right? Maybe you get a little sick, maybe your arm's a little sore, but all in all, you're okay, right? Do you feel better about going? I mean, even though, yes, like we're all going to still be in masks,
No.
I suspect that we're going to be in masks for quite a while, but you don't feel any better about going to, say, the grocery store, or seeing like Nancy Neighbor, or seeing what's his name, or
seeing my friends, yes, I would feel better about that. But what's his name is not signed up for a vaccine at this point, and
I'm not saying about them per se. I'm asking about you, like.
But going out to a mall or a store. I mean, I don't know. I did speak with my friend Maxine a few days ago, and she's had her first Moderna, and she's waiting to get her second one, and she's anxious to actually see her children and her grandkids, and that will enable her to be able to do that. So that's really good for her. But I don't know that she's going to be out shopping in the malls and shit like that either. Because look, we've already got, the UK strain and the Brazilian strain, and
supposedly the vaccines are supposed to be good against the UK. There was a couple variants that they
Brazil,
think it's okay.
But
I think the South America one could be iffy.
No, South African.
But I mean, South African. What did I say? South America?
Yeah.
South African. But then, like I read a thing today about, it talks about reinfection for people that had COVID, right? And it's still like, all these articles are still like, we think reinfection, although it's happening, we think it's a very low chance that you are going to get reinfected, right? And that that potentially, yes, there's these other strains and maybe that, but they were like, we still just feel like it's going to be really hard for that to happen, and it's happening. Like, people are getting it for a second time, right? Then there was a report that talked about people who are getting it for a second time. They think those are the people who might actually end up getting it for a second time and winding up asymptomatic, and because it's like less symptoms the second time around, but I think the wild card is that you have these different variants, Look, I went to a restaurant. I went out to eat on Saturday night. There's this new vegan Italian restaurant that opened in Redondo. They have a location in West Hollywood, and there's all this, like, the location in West Hollywood is supposed to be incredible. Everyone's just like, oh my God, it's amazing. And I'll say, like, we had a 7:30 reservation. We got there like 7:25. And the hostess guy and the manager was just like, oh, it's going to probably be like another 15 minutes. And it's like, all right, I guess, fine, whatever. But we're like outside waiting for a table, and there's like a guy who like keeps walking up to I guess he'd ordered food to go, and he keeps walking up to like the stand, no mask on. I mean, not even like, it wasn't like he was holding, no mask, right? And I'm just like, what is going on? Like, If I was that,
why? I mean, don't they have a sign that says they require masks at the restaurant?
It's because he's on a sidewalk, And I think there was another woman there who was like, they had brought her a glass of wine because she was waiting for a table, and she's like, "Well, I'll have a glass of wine," and I don't think she had a mask on. And then we go in, then we finally get sat.
Is it outdoor dining?
It's outdoor dining, yeah.
Yeah.
We finally get sat, and like.
You mean seated?
Satted?
Seated.
Shatted.
Seated.
Shatted? Did I get shat?
That would be after you eat. But go ahead.
We got seated. Is it seated or sat?
It's seated. You got seated.
Okay, we got satted. We got sandied. They took us and they sandied us.
There you go.
And I mean the tables were like fucking close. I mean, maybe it was 6 feet, but fuck, it didn't feel like it. And like, we had a table of 5 next to us, like a family of 5. Yeah. And it was, set up where it was like 2 and 2. And then the 5th person like was a kid who was sitting at the head of the table. And then like somebody who I'm assuming had some affiliation with the restaurant, like he kept coming over and like talking to them, no mask, like no one had masks. And I was like, this is insane. Because it just felt.
Oh, wait, like the employees and stuff didn't have
masks? No,
masks?
they had them. But I'm saying everybody sitting at the table was like, we had our mask on, and then like.
Well, yeah, I mean, don't you take the mask off when you're going to eat?
Well, right, but like
keep it on until
this place felt. It just felt a little like I felt a little claustrophobic. Like I was like
you felt like you were in Florida.
I don't know what that's like, but I was like,
well,
like,
they don't wear masks. They don't
my
socially
my
distance.
thing about it was, I think I had a little bit of like, okay, because I had COVID, I was like, I'm okay. I'm a little more calm about this, but like, we had these like appetizers that came. That, by the way, we ordered appetizers. They got literally delivered to the table behind us and like sat on the table. And like they had just that table had sat down maybe 5 minutes prior. And they were like, oh, yeah, we didn't order these, you know? And then we were kind of like looking like, okay, they're not going to, there's no way they
didn't
can
just
pick these up and then put them to art, you know?
No, get
so,
out.
No, they didn't. And they took them away. But anyway, then they
took them away and put them in a different plate, heated them in the microwave.
Exactly, then brought them back out.
And then brought them back. At least they killed the COVID in the microwave.
But it was that thing where...
That's creepy.
Like we had like a mozzarella stick, right? And I remember like taking a bite of the mozzarella stick and then like chewing, and as I was chewing, I would like put my mask back up, you know?
Seriously?
Yeah, because that's how it felt. Like it felt very, it just felt very close. It just felt everybody was very close, you know?
You're having COVID anxiety.
Yeah, but I think that's going to be a thing, and I think that's going to be a thing, and that's why I was asking you about like the vaccine situation, where, you know, do you feel? Because I
don't feel like that. I don't feel like I'm going to be safe. To be honest, I don't. Like I've got some stuff I have to return to Target from Christmas, and I've got something to return to Macy's. And like when I talked to Maxine I told her, I said, I have those. She goes, wait till after you get your vaccinations before you do that. So maybe I'll feel a little bit better about doing that. But again, I'm not going to go to a mall. I'm not going to go out to eat. I'm just not. That's just not. Hey, mainstream media, you did your job. You made us all fearful. We're all a bunch of quivering idiots now, kowtowing to the political almighty who want to rule our lives.
There was
and destroy our lives.
Speaking of the media, and I have a funny story about a dressing room. So just remind me, just say dressing room after this. But there was this, so, I don't know if you've been keeping up, but cases in LA County and in California are way down. Like they're way fucking down, right?
Yes, and hospitals
are getting better,
Makes me want to not go get vaccinated.
Well, no, and if you look at if you go and you type in, LA County COVID cases or California COVID cases, it shows you the graph, the chart, right? And it went up, right? It spiked, but now like it's drastically falling. Like it's not like a slow rate. Like it's falling quick. And, you just kind of are like, oh fuck, maybe this is it. Like maybe there's like a little bit of relief, heading into like the spring. But it's so funny because there's this fucking, you go on like, I always check Apple News like a couple times a day and it's a bunch of different news sources, but there's at least 2 or 3 different news sources that the headlines were, as cases in California drop, experts urge we are still in the eye of the storm. And it's like, why do you got to say that?
Well, it's like Biden said, the darkest days are ahead of us. Great. Terrific. Thank you.
There was like another
now
one that was
I feel really hopeless. I mean, how many people could you imagine if you had a market on antidepressants? I mean, seriously, I'm thinking that maybe I need one because, it's just tough. It's tough doing this. We've been doing this for like a year almost.
Yeah, almost a year. There was like another one that was like, what did it say? It said something like COVID cases in California falling, next surge approaching.
Well, it's going to be the Super Bowl surge. Remember? I mean, we were all out partying and everything.
I just wish, like LA Times, UK variant of the coronavirus spreads in California, sparking new concern.
I know. So I know. Hats off to them. They've done, like I said, they've done their job. They've, them and all the politicians that have closed everything down in all the cities across the country. They've done their job. They've made us obedient idiots that just, we're just fearful of everything now. And, to be honest, I don't like living this way. I heard Fauci say tonight something about, like 7 years or something. It's like, you know what? Fuck you, Fauci.
Here, it says New York Post, Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine should ward off the South African strain, study shows. I'm sorry, what did, say that again?
Fuck you. I said, fuck you, Fauci.
No, what did he say? What did Fauci say?
It could be like 7 more years before we like get back to normal. Like we don't have to wear masks and shit, or we don't have to limit what we're doing. Because now I don't know if this is true, but when I spoke to my friend Maxine, she had seen a show called Frontline on PBS, and it was something about. I'm trying to think if I can remember the name of the show. Chinese COVID secrets, something like that. And what she said that they said was that there's a guy, I guess, who's wrote a book. She didn't know the guy's name, but I'm sure you could Google it if you choose to use Google, or you could DuckDuckGo it. Anyway, what was said in this thing is that normally what viruses do is as they run their course, they get weaker and weaker and weaker. But somehow this virus is not doing that. This virus is getting stronger. Although it may be that what's actually getting stronger is the transmissibility of it, but not the not the death rate.
Because that's what I was going to say was that there's the statistic that you hear where it's basically like every virus mutates, right? That's nothing out of the blue, right? I mean, they talk about that. Like that's a typical thing is that, viruses will change and they'll mutate. And to my knowledge, there hasn't, other than like Boris Johnson coming out a few weeks ago and saying that he thought that, the UK variant was 30 to 40% more deadly. But I think what they keep saying is that they don't know if it's necessary.
Is that his medical opinion?
That was his, Dr. Boris Johnson.
Thank you, Dr. Boris Johnson.
That they don't know if it's necessarily getting any deadlier. Right? But that it's potentially, it's more contagious. It's more transmittable, right? That's where you should wear 2, 3, 4, 5 masks. Goggles.
You just put like a sanitary napkin over your mouth and your face. I mean, now we're talking about the thickness of, I'm sorry. I have a hard time breathing in one mask.
I've been wearing two because we just opened, salons just were allowed to open. So I went back to work last week and I wear 2 at work, for 8 to 10 hours.
Are you wearing the paper ones or are you wearing the cloth ones?
Well, what I did was I would do like a disposable, like a medical mask, right?
Yeah.
A cloth one on top of that, a disposable on top of that, and then 4 pieces of duct tape over that, and then a Scotch tape X over that.
Put a fucking bag over your head.
And then I would put blue painter's tape all the way around my head, a piece of aluminum foil, saran wrap down from my nose to my chin, and then a piece of parchment paper that I would use, again, the duct tape to go around.
Okay, and my question to you is, did you feel safe?
Fauci's like, you could have used one more layer of parchment paper.
Or some goggles.
Oh, I was wearing my hair cutting goggles.
Oh, okay, good.
No, I mean,
so hair doesn't fly into your eye while you're cutting it.
I think yes, because
Edward Scissorhands, because you're so quick with the scissors.
Flies
all over the place.
Just like God, we're ingesting COVID hair. I mean, I have to imagine that as one of my clients who's a doctor said something very interesting in the very very beginning of this, and his comment was, what we hope, excuse me, I just like burped. What we hope is that COVID gets to a point where it mutates out of humans, right? And that's like even the goal in the vaccine is that when the host becomes...
I bet we could do that in a lab, but go ahead.
Well, when the host becomes not good for the virus is like, oh fuck, we don't want to go into the host anymore,
Yeah, let's go to the cats and the dogs now. So he said he thought that
was a possibility, that it could eventually mutate out of humans, right? So, again, I don't know what we're seeing right now, right? I don't know what's causing this giant, decrease in cases in California. And I haven't looked at the rest of the U.S., but I mean, essentially, you commented on it today. There's tons of people out. There's tons of people doing stuff.
Right? No, traffic was horrible.
So it's not like I don't think that we can fairly say, at least in Los Angeles County, and I'll say it. I'll make the statement. We haven't changed anything. I almost want to say there's more people out, there's more people going shopping, there's more people doing things than in any other time during this pandemic.
Well, what aren't we completely open? I mean, not like 100% capacity.
Yeah, I mean everything's like. But I'm just saying. I mean, as over the last few months, I mean, around the holidays and stuff. Like, although you couldn't go out and get a haircut and a manicure, pedicure, pedicure.
You do that now?
I believe so. I believe nail salons are open, but there were still people out shopping. There's still people doing things.
Right.
So again, you kind of have to look at it and go, well, what's causing the decrease? My whole point in all this is that it would just be nice if there was like a little bit of fucking hope, right? Like media, give us a little hope, right? Have a headline that's like California cases decrease.
Phew.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wipe the sweat from your brow.
What a relief, really. What a relief. Our cases are down. I know. See, that's the thing is that, and I have to say, it's not just the media, but it's also, our Gavin Newsom always, we have a long way to go. I can't stand the way the guy talks. It's like, say the whole sentence, let it flow. He has to enunciate every word. Garcetti's the same way, doom and gloom. Everything's doom and gloom.
But I think that
we're
they
totally fucked.
But I think that they do that shit as to not make it seem like they're constantly moving the goalposts back and forth of being like, hey, everyone. No, 100%, right? But like, I think it's that thing, instead of being like, okay, hey, everything's great. Look at how great we are. And then 2 weeks from now, it's like, hey, so we're fucked, right?
You guys were bad. You were bad boys and girls.
But I think that there's
now you're going into lockdown again. It's called timeout.
But I think that there's a way to do it. And even with Newsom, with the English laundry thing, right? And I've been saying this for a while. I wish
it was French laundry.
French. Oh, is it French laundry? What did I say? English laundry. Yeah. English laundry was a.
You got a COVID mind.
I do. It was a clothing company. So when he was eating at the Polynesian laundry, it was French laundry.
French laundry. French Polynesia.
I wish that he would have come out and just been human, right? Just been a human being and been like, hey, I messed up. This is hard for me, right? Like, I understand.
He did do that.
Yeah, but it was just like so fucking it was like typical politician talk.
I know. See, that's what you have. That's who he is.
But I'm saying come out and just be like, be normal, be a human being, and just be like, look, this is fucking hard, and I wanted to see my friends, and like, this was not the right thing to do, and
my friend's a lobbyist. Yeah, I had I heard they had like in the thousands of dollars of bar bill that night.
Oh, I'm sure, 100%. But then to go back,
how do you drink that much alcohol?
Oh, they're like 16 people or something. I mean, that's pretty. I'm sure drinks were like fucking $25 a pop, so you have 4, it's $100, like adds up quick. But I just think that it would be nice through this whole thing. We've heard so much of how miserable the world is, right? That's all we hear is, COVID's here. COVID's here to stay. COVID's going to be around forever. Good luck. Oh, wear 17 masks. Maybe you're protected. We don't think so. Oh, you're gonna get on a plane? Well, you better get a hazmat suit. You better get tested before, after, on the plane. Oh, you don't like anal swabbing? Too bad. That's the new way we're testing you.
That's the new way we're doing it.
Like, I just wish
we have mass testing sites for anal swabbing.
Yeah, I just wish that it was like a little bit of, again, just a little bit of like, hey, here's
a ray of hope.
Ray of hope. A little ray of sunshine. A pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
There you go.
I was actually.
Yeah, I don't know, Josh. I don't think. Again, I think that. I think that part of the reason that they try to make us so fearful is because if we're fearful, we won't question their decisions, whether they're based on science or not. I mean, we know for a fact that closing the restaurant outdoor eating back in November was based on nothing. I don't know what it was based on. Somebody's whim. Oh, I think I woke up this morning. I think I want to close down some outdoor eating areas. Ah, yeah. Wham! You guys are closed. But,
See, I think by them making us fearful and making that, I think it almost makes people question it more. because people are like, well, clearly it can't be this bad, right? Or clearly there's got to be.
But here's the thing: is that's in your mind. That's what you're saying. Logic says can't be that bad, right? But the problem is that it's so deep-seated, that fear now, that when you go to that restaurant and the tables aren't 6 feet apart or people aren't wearing masks, you're fearful. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but
then what do? You don't go out. You don't go out to eat. You don't socialize. You become a hermit. You become depressed. You become suicidal. I mean, this is not good. And I can't believe we've had our fucking kids out of school for a whole fucking year.
Well, and that's a whole other thing is we're trying to figure out how to put the kids back in school, and all the teachers are like, hey, we want to get vaccinated if that's going to happen. And they're like, well, no. And it's like, wait, what?
Well, the CDC has said that teachers do not need to be vaccinated. Now, wasn't your friend, Peter, offered a vaccine?
He wasn't offered one. They were talking. He was saying that he thought that it was coming in like the next wave, right? That they were gonna open up vaccines to teachers at some point, right? Soon, right? Sooner than hairstylists.
Really? Well, here's what I heard tonight is this doctor that I was listening to on the radio said that basically why the CDC says it's not necessary for teachers to be vaccinated is that the average age of teachers in the United States is like 42 years old, and they don't feel that that's a deadly age. It's not an age where you can't deal with it. Now, if you had some type of underlying conditions, then that would be a different story.
But I
don't see any reason why we shouldn't vaccinate the teachers. But what about the teachers that don't want to get vaccinated?
Right. I think it's kind of fucked up to, be the scientists that are going, well, here the average age of teachers is 42, so we don't got to vaccinate them. It's like, wait, what? Like, why is that your call to make when you've been telling us for the last fucking 11 months how absolutely deadly and horrifying this thing is? Not to mention that the age group of the people who are getting it right now is between 18 and 40 or something. Like that's like the most cases that are popping up. So,
Yeah, but what they're saying is that they have not found a lot of transmission in school settings, whether it be from child to child or child to teacher. I mean, my brother, he was substitute teaching from September through November. He says the kids come, they take temperatures, their desks are separated. Somebody told me that they have. I guess my Maxine told me that her grandkids have like plastic, guard things, three sides, like at the grocery store. You have the plexiglass at every desk. So school districts.
You should put these kids in the giant hamster balls and just let them wheel themselves into school.
Really wheel yourself in. So, I think there's safe ways of doing it. And again, I don't see any reason why teachers shouldn't be vaccinated. But having said that, again, what do you do with a teacher who doesn't want a vaccine?
I mean, look,
for whatever reason,
had talked to, I don't know. I'm not going to use the name. But I talked to someone I know who was a teacher, and they were saying because I'd asked, I was like, well, what happens if they make you do it? Like if they make you get vaccinated, like we get to a point where, because I have a strange suspicion that we're going to get to that point, right? Where if you want to do X, you have to be vaccinated, Well,
somebody in Congress actually suggested, a Republican suggested that we get a $1,400 stimulus check after we get a vaccine. It's like, wait, that's not quite fair, but there you go. There's your carrot and your stick. So,
but what my friend was saying was that he figured that what will probably end up happening is that when these teachers renew contracts, it'll be in the contract because of the fact that I think to be a teacher, or to be a student to go to school, you have to have your fucking, your smallpox, you had to have the vaccines, right? Which, by the way, remember the good days when, I was going to mention this, remember the good days when you could go to the doctor, the doctor would be like, hey, so you need to get your smallpox vaccine, as a child. And it was like, okay. And it was like, oh, because smallpox, the vaccine makes it so you don't get smallpox. And you didn't have to question, you didn't have to be like, well, is is this vaccine going to kill me secretly? You know,
Well, first of all, you never had a smallpox vaccine. I had one.
Well, but you know what I'm saying.
My generation had them. You didn't get them because smallpox was eliminated pretty much. So, I mean, in the United States anyway. But there are some vaccines, like you didn't get the whole whooping cough vaccine. That's a whole story in itself. So, I mean, and that kind of was the beginning of my anti-vaccine thing when I saw what they had done to, it's called DPT, diphtheria, tetanus, and whooping cough. And you get one at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and a booster at 2 years. So you had bad reactions to them. You'd go in for a baby checkup and everything was fine. And we'd get the shot and we'd go home and within 24 hours, you had a horrible ear infection and, redness at the site. And I didn't like it. And I had read this book and, it turns out that the pertussis part of that vaccine, which takes care of whooping cough, was a live cell vaccine and it hadn't been changed in 30 years. And because it's a live cell vaccine, it can create, horrible side effects, deaths and, so it was like a big thing. I read this big book on it. I talked to my dad about it. I think you maybe had 2 of the DPT shots, and then we just got you the diphtheria and the tetanus. So, and Samantha, I don't know that she got any of the DPTs because she had leukemia, and you can't have a live cell vaccine when you have cancer and are going through chemotherapy. So, anyway. That's kind of where my hatred of vaccines started.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
Not a hatred, but just a questioning of vaccines. I mean, just because they say, the doctors. Here's what the doctors always say: the benefit outweighs the risk. But okay, so the benefit outweighs the risk for society as a whole. But if it's my child that dies from sudden infant death syndrome or whatever after a vaccine, that benefit doesn't outweigh that risk for me. That's my child, So that's kind of, I don't like that standard. Oh, the benefit outweighs the risk, Okay. That's just, to me that, like I said, that's bullshit. In general, that's true. But again, if it's your child, it's a totally different story because you don't want anything to happen to your child. So anyway, did we digress?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like vaccines are important. I feel like it's important to for especially for children. I mean, we can't have a second coming of measles. We can't have a second coming of smallpox. We can't go back down that shit. And I think that COVID is a perfect example. Is what do you do when you have something like this, right? What do you do?
Well, and they have not tested the COVID on kids, the vaccine.
No, I know. Well, I think they were actually starting to do trials.
I think they're starting to, yeah. But see, I'm going to tell you right now, if you were my child of school age and you were required to get a vaccine before you went to school, I may choose not to send you to school. I mean, seriously. Because of the fact that they haven't tested it on children.
Well, like I said, I think that this is going to be, I don't know how you try to crush this new virus, this new pandemic, without a vaccine, right? I think that also, I mean, look, it would be really great if we could get to a point where people get COVID, right? But it's like, oh, I have COVID. I'm going to call my doctor. He's like, great, fantastic. You have COVID. I'm going to write you a prescription for this. Take these. If you start to get any worse, go to the hospital, right? You go to the hospital because it's getting worse. And the hospital's like, oh, cool. Don't even worry. We got you. And now maybe you're losing, 1 out of every 500 people that end up getting COVID, right? And maybe that's because there's an underlying issue or condition. But we have to get it to where, first off, we have to get these numbers down, right? Which is happening, which is great. But, there's the eye of the storm. And
it's great, but it's not good enough.
Right.
It's not going to last forever.
I laugh at, how fucking...
Don't get too happy now.
How everyone thought this was so bad in March. We had like 100 cases in California and people were like, oh my God, shut the fucking the thing down. We can't do it anymore, I know.
I mean, I tell you, I think about like, places like New Zealand where they have like no cases, but what do? They continue to do this forever and ever and ever?
Well, that's a good point, right? Is that at some point travel has to open back up at some point.
So wait, we're not allowing anybody to fly in from Europe and stuff, are we?
I don't think so. I think that was still
okay. You know though that we're letting illegals come in from the southern border, and we're not testing them for COVID. We're just releasing them into the general public. Does that
Yeah, I haven't seen. I mean, I would need to do more research on that, but
if it's true, it really frightens me that you can't fly in here from Europe, but you can come across the border illegally. And again, you're coming from South America, you're coming from Mexico, where the COVID has been, crazy bad. There may be new strains that are coming up. I mean, seriously.
I mean, look, like I said, and I've mentioned this several times, if I was in charge, I would have shut it all down. You live in the United States, you ain't living in the United States. You're not going to you're not going to Mexico.
Who does? I mean, the airlines haven't ceased operations, so somebody's flying into the U.S. Is it just U.S. citizens?
So I don't know. Again, I mean, I haven't been keeping up. I've been kind of looking at just numbers in general. I haven't been keeping up with what's going on with air travel and stuff. But I know that if this was me, right, if I was in charge, that this would have been shut down a long time ago, and it would have been shut down. It would have been like, look, I'm sorry. And it's not.
I know, but see, here's not. But then there's the question again, just like with New Zealand, shut it down forever. You're never going to allow anybody from Europe or any other country.
That's the problem.
That's the exact problem.
Yeah. And you have to figure out, when it becomes okay to say okay. When it becomes okay to say okay, hey, okay, that. You could get on hey, you can get on your plane and you can fly to New Zealand, right? And that's, I think, a call that like New Zealand has to make, right? That's a call that.
Well, you can do that now, but you've got to come up with $3,000 to quarantine, and apparently that's what they're doing in Australia as well. You quarantine in a hotel for 14 days. You do not leave your hotel room.
Like I was talking to someone.
You don't have a balcony. You may not even have a fucking window. I don't know. Inside cabin on a cruise ship. You know.
I was talking to someone about this the other day, where we were talking about what it would the idea of going to Hawaii, right? And not that we were going to go, but it would like just like kind of like speaking about that idea out loud, right? And I think that the thing that we kept coming back to was, what if you go to Hawaii, you test negative to get on the plane, right? And let's just say there's one person on the plane that was like a Josh, right, who tested negative, but ended up having COVID, right? And now is exposed as people on the plane, right? So now you get to Hawaii, and your first day in Hawaii is incredible. Maybe your second day is great, and your third day, you get sick, and now you're really fucking sick, right? I mean, like your fever, your fucking headache, your aches, your chills. So now not only are you not enjoying Hawaii, which is fine, but like how you can't get home. How do you go home? How do you get home? You can't get on a plane. There's no way they're gonna let you on a fucking plane. So now you're stuck. And now, not only are you stuck,
but when you leave Hawaii, are they checking temperatures there as well?
I would imagine. I would imagine that. I mean, my understanding was that you had to fly, to even fly, like you have to show. I mean, you have to show a negative test. So.
Oh, but you were saying people were falsifying. They're changing their dates on their tests. And...
Yes, but what I'm saying though is that now you're stuck in Hawaii and you're stuck in a hotel, which means now you have to now you got to get the hotel for another 9 days. How are you getting food? You're just room service. So now you go bankrupt because you spend 12 days, 14 days in Hawaii, and you're having to just order room service. I mean,
no, you know what? And I'll tell you. Remember when your nephew tested or had COVID? He had COVID, and it turned out he got it from his grandmother.
I definitely don't think it was my nephew. That would mean Sam's.
No, your nephew is Brian's kids, and
well, if Sam had kids,
what
would they be to me?
They'd be your niece and nephew as well.
So Brian is my cousin.
Wait, Brian was your cousin, so it'd be your second cousins. be your second cousin. Sorry.
Duh.
Seov's kids. Yeah, she didn't have any. So anyway, turned out that they found out that he got it from his grandmother, and his grandmother and his father lived together, and his father had taken off. It was over, I think, Thanksgiving weekend or a holiday or whatever. His father had taken off to go to Puerto Rico and found out when he got to Puerto Rico that his son had tested positive for COVID. And he has some underlying health issues as well. And that was, his concern was, if I get sick, how do I get home? And on top of that, I'd rather be with my doctors at home. So he turned around and flew right back. He didn't wait till he got sick. But that would be a problem. I mean, who wants to do that? And I think that exposure really is like 3 to 5 days. This 14-day bullshit is, I don't know anybody who's waited 14 days to get it.
From when they, I agree.
I mean, I think really it's like, I feel like 5 days and you could probably be pretty assured that you're not getting it from your last trip to the grocery store, Yeah.
I would not want to be stranded in Hawaii. I would not want to be stranded in Mexico. What were you saying? Puerto Rico. Would not want to be stranded in Puerto Rico. And that's the thing, is that, it's like, you're like, oh, I want to get out. I want to travel. I want to do a trip or something. But then, you think about it and you think, God, like, does that make sense? And you have to play devil's advocate. Well, I don't know. I do in my head, right? Where I'm like, what if I got sick? And fuck, how miserable is that going to be? Right. Well,
and how, like you said, you go bankrupt paying for your hotel room and your food while you're there. And Hawaii is really expensive.
Right, I was going to say, $2,500 trip turns into, a $7,000 trip?
A $10,000 trip? And you didn't even enjoy one single bit of it?
You're just in a fucking hotel room the whole time with no windows? With no windows and no doors.
No. You have windows, but they don't open. You don't get the fresh air.
Always my way. You know where that's from?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I don't know. No.
But you're in the room, and the narrator is like, the room with no windows and no doors. I urge you to find a way out.
The haunted house?
Yeah, there you go. Look at you. You're so smart. You're such a smart mommy.
It's been fucking years since I've been to Disneyland.
All right, so really quickly, I want to tell a funny story. Well, not even a funny story, but just something that I don't think...
Dressing room?
Yeah, dressing room. Something that I don't think...
And I have to say something, too, that I think is kind of interesting, but go ahead.
All right, cool. We're nearing the hour mark here, so when we talk, we just talk. We're mother son. We have fun. One thing I do not understand for the life of me, and maybe it makes sense to you, but it does not fucking make sense to me in any way, shape, or form. These malls are open, all right? Malls, department stores, clothing stores, retail stores, they're all open. But like 9 out of 10, you walk in and they have giant signs that say, our fitting rooms are closed. Now, let's think about that for a second, okay?
and we don't do refunds, only store
no.
credit.
So no, they're all yeah, you can bring it back, for a refund. But let's just think about that, okay? I could understand if it was, we are going to limit how many people are in the fitting room, right? So maybe if there's 10 fitting room stalls, maybe you're letting 3 in and you're doing 3 stalls, one every third stall or something, right?
Right.
To me, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But you're telling me that you are going to, I need to buy. So like, I had walked into like a clothing store the other day and they had these kind of cool pants. And I was like, oh, these would be kind of cool pants, maybe to like wear to work or like a nice dinner or something. And I was either a small or a medium. And then they had like some cool sweatpants, like these really soft sweatpants. And I was like, oh, these are cool too. And I was like, held up the smalls and I'm like, God, I don't know how these are going to fit. So I pick them both up. I see, fitting room's closed. And then I tried, and I had sweats on at the time. So then I'm like, I wonder if I can just throw on these pants over my sweats in the middle of the store, right? So I take my shoes off and I put one leg in. I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to do this. So now what I had to do is I have to buy, and I didn't do it, but what they're telling me, right, is now I need to buy one of each size, right? So I'm gonna get like a small and a medium. Take those home into my house.
Into your COVID house.
Into my COVID house, right? Where I've like, I'm, showering, I'm coughing, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm taking poops. Like COVID is, I mean, not right now, but like
permeates
COVID
the
is
air.
permeating in here, right? I'm having, maybe I'm having people, maybe I'm one of the guys that's not taking COVID very serious, and I'm having people come over all the time, and now they're breathing. So now these garments, right? They have my breath on them. I've probably like sneezed in the room a couple times. I probably pooped with the bathroom door open, so there's poop particles on the garments. And then I realize, oh, you know what? Actually, neither of them fit. So now I take my Josh DNA pants that don't fit. I take them back, get a refund. Are they spraying? Are they disinfecting them, or are they just taking those motherfuckers and putting them back out on the shelf? Wouldn't it be better for me to try them on in the dressing room, where at least they can control who's coming in and going out, and maybe they're spraying?
I would think they would have to spray the room between uses, and that's probably what they don't want to get into. I don't think they've thought the whole process out, though, because you're right. I mean, it's, to me, and I'll tell you, like the grocery store, like for instance, Ralph. So what did I have to talk to this gal about? It seems to me that I ordered some groceries and I got some items that I didn't want, and the thing is that if you don't get charged for them, whatever. But if you get charged for them, then it's like, well, because then sometimes they'll substitute things for you, and I usually say don't substitute. I don't want you to substitute because I don't know what you're going to pick out. So at one point, so they substituted a few things for me, and it's not what I wanted, and so I called the customer service people at Ralph's, and I talked to the gal, and she's like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and credit your account for. I couldn't pull up a receipt, is what it was. They changed it. They don't give you a paper receipt anymore. It's in the computer. So in order to return something, you have to print up the receipt and then take it back and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, their customer service said, we're not really doing returns right now. So I'm going to credit your account with $10. And if you have a food bank or something like that where you can donate food, just donate it or throw it away, whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense that they're not letting you return stuff, but everybody else is letting you return.
Well, there are a lot of, I'd read stuff about Target and even Amazon in some cases where, if you have something small that you bought and it doesn't make sense for them to take it back, they just like, look, we'll fucking give you a refund or we'll give you Amazon money and just fucking keep the thing, right? Whatever, right? But the clothes thing, because and we've had this happen too, where like you'll go into like store A and they're like, hey, our fitting rooms are closed, right? And it's like, all right, fine. And then like you walk down like the mall or whatever, and you walk into store B and you're like, hey, are you guys' fitting rooms open? And they're like, oh yeah, totally. Yeah. You can use our fitting rooms. And then in my head, I'm thinking, well, maybe I should just go buy some stuff from store A, take it to store B, try it on, and I don't have to go home,
Yeah, you could do that.
I don't know. The whole thing, it was something that struck me as like, this is really weird. I don't understand the logic behind it.
But I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I'd want to be in store A or store B in their fitting rooms. I mean, because I don't know who's been in there before me. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, like when you didn't go to Palm Springs, but when you made your reservation to go, they told you that they like close the rooms off for 24 hours and they only rent every other room. And do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, that they're doing something to sanitize their rooms. But what's Lady Foot Locker doing to sanitize their dressing rooms?
I don't think Lady Foot Locker has dressing rooms. Do they? No. Maybe. I don't
know.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a great.
It's the only store I could think of that tells you how long I've been to a mall. Right?
I love me a good Lady Foot Locker.
Right.
Sandy, what do you? Sandy,
are they around anymore?
My mom, Sandy, what's the first shop you're going to do after
Foot Locker,
after you get vaccinated? Please. Lady Foot Locker.
Lady Foot Locker.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, look, it makes sense, but I don't know. I just feel like you could get some, maybe get some Lysol. I don't know. I just feel like sending people home with the shit and then being like, bring it back if you don't like it for a refund. I don't know. I mean, because now
maybe they bag it and put it in the back for like a week and then return it to the floor.
I fucking highly doubt that.
Well, I mean, they got gloves on? I wouldn't want to be handling it. I wouldn't want to work in a store and have people bringing stuff back that now I have to handle.
I bought something.
I wonder if Target, I got 3 things to take back to Target. Do you think they'll just let me keep them?
I would call them, give them a call, just say I've got some small items, and I'll just keep them. I went to a store, I had to buy something the other day, and I was like, oh, I'll buy it, and the guy was like, cash or card, and I was like, I'm just gonna pay with cash, and he like put on like surgical gloves and then like handed me a small like waiter tray, like a waiter or waitress tray to like put the money on. The money was covered in poison, right? So I put the money I put the money on the tray, and then he like picks it up like from like a crime scene, you know?
Yeah.
And then like puts it in the register, and then like takes out my change and puts that on the tray, and then like slides the tray towards me, you know?
Did you say, where are my gloves? You should have said, where's my fucking gloves?
And
I don't want to touch the money.
I was like, well, I don't want the change. I was like, I don't know what's going on in your fucking cash register drawer, you know?
Really? Did you say that? Seriously?
No, I didn't say that. No, I was like, give me my money.
You should have said, can I borrow a pair of gloves, please?
So I also like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I also like that same store. Like I walked in and they have like a greeter at the front, and the woman was just like, okay, so, hey, you guys can come on in. We just ask that you keep your mask on. And I was like, so don't take the mask off inside. She was like, oh no, is that okay? And I was like, well, I don't know. If I said no, what I mean, you know?
Really? What would you do to me? Would you forcibly make me exit? Put me in a headlock and throw me out in the mall? All right, I can't believe you're going to the mall, for God's sakes. I don't even know what that experience is like. I would like to
go to the mall with me.
No, I have a pair of slippers I have to return to Macy's, and I have 3 things I have to return to Target. And I kind of feel like I'd like to get that done just because, you know, it kind of takes that stuff off my things to do list. Anyway, whatever. It'll get done. Yeah, whatever.
All right. So you said you had something you wanted to say, and then let's wrap this bad boy up.
Well, I won't even go into it tonight. We can talk about it next week.
Is it like just a whole thing? It's not just like a statement. It's like a whole thing, huh?
Well, it's kind of a story, but.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, we'd do it next week. Oh, we didn't mention the Super Bowl yesterday. You watched it, right?
I did watch it, yes.
So I love the kicker on the the kicker on the New England's team.
New England was definitely not in the Super Bowl.
Not New England. Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking New England because of Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. No, but I don't even know what team he was on. Suck Up.
That's his last name?
Yeah. His last name was Suck Up. I'm going to tell you, I think it's SOCCOP.
I believe that's pronounced Sokop.
No, that's how, every time they said it on TV, I just cracked up. I thought it was so funny.
Yeah, it was kind of, to be completely honest, it was kind of a boring game. I was kind of rooting for Kansas City, and they just didn't really have it together. And the minute that they kind of went down, you know, I was just like, no, this is. Super Bowls are fun when it's kind of going back and forth. One team scores, the other team scores. One team, you know, gets a field goal, the other team gets a field goal, or field goal, kick punt, a punter,
field goal or touchdown.
Yeah. And then, you know, but when like one team's ahead by like 3 touchdowns, and then you kind of see the other team, you know, you're just like, oh, they're clearly playing like shit. That's when you're just like, okay, well, this isn't fun. I'm not having a good time. I thought the halftime show was great. I like the Weeknd. I think that he's got some good hits. I don't think he's necessarily the most like.
I was gonna say, who the fuck is the guy? And on top of that, that's like I said to what's his name. I've never heard the music before, and none of it has a catchy tune that I'm going to be singing later on.
I thought, yeah, I mean, he's got some hits, and he played the hits. I thought they were great. I mean, I don't think that he is the most charismatic performer. But
no, and those masks that they had on, they look like mummy masks. It was just, I don't know, it kind of gave me the creeps.
You know, he put in $7 million of his own money to make the halftime show like what he envisioned.
Well, nice that he has $7 million to do that with, eh?
Yeah. You see, there was a rapper, I forget, I think oh God, who was it? There was a rapper, he got a $24 million diamond implanted into his forehead.
So, like, if you want to rip him off, you've got to like cut it out of his forehead.
Cut his head off. Well, that was
Yeah.
like I mean, it's mean, but it's like, I was talking to my friend about this, and it was like, well, how quickly is he going to get shot, and just someone's going to just decapitate him because they're going to be like,
I know, right? Just
$24
$24
million, like, holy shit.
I mean, you don't even, and you better fucking be careful where you travel to. I mean, I've heard when you travel in Europe and especially South America, you don't wear your fucking jewelry. How do you take that off your head? What do you cover it?
Ugh.
Put makeup on it? How big is it? Is it fucking huge?
It's like the size of a thumb.
God.
It's like a pink purpley
24 million?
Thumb size $24 million jewel.
So where did he get that? Where did he make? I mean, he made that kind of money from rapping.
I don't know, some rapper guy.
I mean, what a poor decision on what to spend your money on, don't you think?
Like when he's on like VH1 Behind the Music in like 30 years, and they're like, so little, I forget his name. I need to look it up. They're like, so you lost it all. He's got this like half
big hole in his
forehead.
forehead.
It's like, no, I was gonna say like half the jewel, And they're like, what's your biggest regret? He's like, I spent fucking $24 million on this stupid piece of jewelry for my forehead. Should have invested it.
Could you imagine though if at some point you needed that money and you had to have it surgically removed so that you could cash it in? I mean, then again, you'd be left with this big hole in your forehead. Maybe you could get like a cubic zirconium or something, a fake diamond to put in there.
I just feel.
I know. How do you know it's really 23 million? Come on.
That's what they say. Hold on, let me see if it was. Yeah, little Uzi Vert.
Little Uzi, like a machine gun.
Yeah, little Uzi Vert got a $24 million pink diamond in his forehead. It's a 10 carat diamond.
I've never heard of this guy. Is he really? He's made more than 24 million, 23 million, whatever you said.
Little Uzi Vert.
Uzi Vert. Okay, I'm impressed. I'm gonna check him out.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm gonna DuckDuckGo him.
And it's crazy because like he's like a handsome dude. Like definitely has like some face tattoos that I probably would have gone without, but like he looks. I couldn't tell you his music, but like he looks charismatic and like fun. Looks like a fun nice guy. 26 years old. He's only 5'4". That's not good.
That's not great.
That's not good. Like if he was like 6'7",
really,
and just like
he could pull it off.
Yeah, just like 6'7", like 250, just goes to the gym, like the gym every day and just is pumping iron.
Gronkowski.
Someone's like, "Hey, little Uzi Vert, give me that $24 million." He's like, "I will fucking kill you."
I'll fight you, kill you over this fucking 24 million pink diamond in my forehead. Okay, well, hopefully that's not, all he ever earns in his life. He's pretty young to spend that kind of money on a piece of jewelry that you have surgically implanted. On top of that, is it all healed over? Do you actually see a picture? Because how do you know his like skin's not going to like reject it or something? Remember how you guys, when you got some of your piercings, you got those funky weird things going on?
Yeah, I mean,
like on lip piercings, you get those. What are they called?
Keloids.
Yeah.
It's a keloid.
Yeah.
I'm sending you a photo. Yeah. Well, that's different, but yeah. I can't. Did you get? I sent you a photo. Did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get it?
Did I get it? Did I get it?
Do you see the pink diamond? What if that was the side effect from the vaccine? Is your forehead grew a diamond?
I mean, that's not even attractive. No offense, but I mean, that's pretty fucking ugly. He's got some white fucking teeth there, doesn't he?
I mean, he's like a handsome dude. I mean, again, I'm not big on face tattoos, but like he's a handsome dude,
Yeah. Speaking of handsome dudes, I told you today, and I'll tell our audience that I did watch The Undoing, and it was quite good.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You did tell me that.
I have to text my friend Ellie and let her know that I really enjoyed it.
All right, so no spoilers, but you liked it, you enjoyed it, you kept guessing.
I will say
you binged it. You binged it. 5 episodes.
I binged it. Yes, I watched the first episode of what's his name, and then Saturday night I watched 5 episodes straight. I mean, there were some endings, and you'll know the white ending it's just like, wait, I can't wait another week to see this. I've got to find out. But I will say this: I don't get what the big deal with the helicopters in New York is. Like, it just seemed like they use helicopters a lot. I mean, like the police chief arrives in the car, but they take the criminal in the helicopter. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like, well, what they're like upstate New York. What's the big deal? I don't know. Maybe it's far by car. Maybe they don't want to inconvenience the prisoner.
That's true. That could be a thing.
Anyway, it was good. But what was I know you said.
So I suggested two shows to you. One was called the Flight Attendant, which is the newer show on HBO. 8 episodes. I watched it, loved it, thought it was great. Definitely has some funny moments. And then the other show is probably from about 5 years ago. I think it was 2016, maybe 2017, but it was called The Night Of. That was also on HBO. There was also a really good show called The Outsider, which is a little bit darker. I think it's based off a Stephen King book. And I think that was 8 episodes as well. HBO has been on a roll the last few years with some really good, like, original series type stuff. And stuff that, same thing that you kind of felt during The Undoing, where it was like, oh my God, I just got to watch. Like when I was watching The Outsider, and that was on 2019 was when that came out. And I mean, I was just like, my palms were like sweating. Like I was just like, oh my God, this is intense. And then like the episode would end and I'm
is it the same type of thing as The Undoing, or is it like horror?
No,
I don't like horror.
It's not horror. It's The Outsider felt like almost kind of like a true crime, like a true detective kind of like true crime show. True Detective is actually another one that was really great on HBO as well, with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson, which was fucking fantastic. Season 1 was great, but it was almost kind of like a True Detective meets like the X-Files. It doesn't have like the X-Files wasn't like the X-Files is not horror. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's kind of how The Outsider felt. The Outsider never felt like horror, whereas like say like, Stephen King's It, or I'm trying to think, stuff like that. It's like that's horror.
Yeah.
This definitely felt more X-Filey. But there was one episode in particular. I mean, it ended, and I mean, like I had to like my hands. I had to wipe my hands on my pants because they were just sweating. Like I was just like, that was in fucking tense. Like holy shit. Like I was
I wrote it down. I wrote down The Night Of and Outsider. I could never remember The Night Of and The Flight Attendant. I know that.
And True Detective. Write down True Detective, because that was True Detective season 1 was pretty incredible. That's two detectives that go back and don't revisit a crime, but they revisit it like goes back in time to show you.
When is that? You said there was going to be a special on
February 10th.
Alyssa Lamb.
February 10th on Netflix, yes.
Oh. Do I have Netflix?
I think you have everything, yeah. Yeah, I think you do.
Well, that's coming up. That's like Wednesday.
Okay, well, I got to stop by tomorrow, so I'll make sure that you're all set. You're all ready to go.
How do you know that do you get like notices from Netflix?
No, there was like something I saw that they had posted. They were like, oh, the mystery at the Cecil Hotel or something, or the Curse of the Cecil Hotel, Eliza. So yeah, there was something that came up. So
yeah, all right.
Yeah, so.
All right. Well, we'll have to check it out tomorrow.
Yeah, and then I'll queue up all the other shows so that you don't have to search for them. You can just they're just right there. All right, let's get off this. All right, you're getting vaccinated tomorrow. I'm obviously going to see you in the morning, but just for the sake of the podcast,
for the listeners out there, if you don't hear from me next week, then you'll know that I had a bad reaction, anaphylactic shock.
I think you're going to be A-okay. And as everyone is listening to this on Tuesday morning, send some good vibes to Sandy for her first dose of the.
I'll even take prayers
for the Pfizer vaccine.
The vaccine. And, I know. Now I'm like really paranoid about the second one. Fuck.
Well, you got 3 weeks to think about it.
Yeah, thanks. That's perfect.
All right, give it. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot this. You guys need to get a hold of us. No one ever does, but if you guys need to get a hold of us, you guys can. Oh, I did want to say something really quickly. I knew I was gonna forget. Fuck. See, I'm just. Rodman texted me last week.
Yeah.
Because we had talked about the whole Cecil Hotel. This is why I remember this. And there was a show on FX called American Horror Story, and they had a season called American Horror Story Hotel. And so he texted me and he said, "Have you seen the American Horror Story season based on the Cecil Hotel?" Now, I don't know, Rodman, if the whole season was based on the Cecil Hotel. Maybe it was. Maybe you know more than I do about that. But I was very excited because season 1 of American Horror Story, actually season 1, 2, and 3 were all very good. And I remember thinking, oh my God, they're going to do a hotel. Like, and in my head, I was like, man, this is going to be great. This is going to be like creepy.
Is it real horror stuff?
It's like, scary. Like,
or is it like Cecil Hotel stuff?
No, like it's like they basically like so I'll get into it in a second. But like the first season is about like a house with like all these different like spirits that like live in the house, and this family moves in, and like the spirits like.
Are these true stories?
No, it's was it fiction? Nonfiction?
Fiction. No,
Fiction.
nonfiction would be true.
Yeah, so it's all, it's a TV show. It's like a drama, so drama with, horror elements. So I was excited when they announced, a few years back, they were like, oh, join us for, fucking whatever, season 6 or whatever, American Horror Story Hotel. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. And I was so excited. And I remember, watching the premiere episode of it. And I was just like, man, this is going to be so cool. It's going to be like an old hotel. Like I love like the old creepy Hollywood hotels, or like the old hotels in like the middle of nowhere, right? Like the 1920s, right? It was like, ooh, this is creepy, right? So the fucking show starts.
Yeah.
And it's so my response to Rodman was, I saw it. I watched like, I think 1 or 2 episodes, absolutely hated it, had to turn it off. And he goes, oh, dude, he goes, that's my favorite season. And he goes, well, then fuck your recommendation about In and of Itself on Hulu, which was my friend Derek did that magic show thing. Anyway, long story short, American Horror Story Hotel, it starts, the opening scene is, and it's like present day. It's like present day Los Angeles. The opening scene is 2 women. They're like foreign exchange students, and they come over and they get a room. They go up to their room. They're so excited. They're giggling. They're fucking checking their cell phones or whatever. And they hear like a noise in like the mattress. Sorry, spoilers coming for this. They hear like a noise like coming from the bed or the mattress. And then they're like, don't pay any attention. They're like looking out the window. They're like, oh my God, look at the scene, look at the view. All the LA Hollywood scenery. It's so great. And then they keep hearing this noise. And they pull back the fucking covers and the sheets. And there's like a man in the mattress. And he's like crawling like out of the mattress, right? He like looks like he's like a zombie or something, right? And he's like crawling out of the mattress. And they go down and they like run out of the room and they run downstairs. I'm like, okay, here we go. They're going to call the police. They go downstairs to the front desk and they're like, I'm sorry, we need another room. And I was like, wait, what? You need another room? There's a man living inside the mattress of this hotel and you're going to just get another room? Not a fucking chance. Like, what?
That doesn't sound great to me, but
like I've left hotels just because like I'm like, oh, the minibar doesn't have any fucking alcohol. It doesn't have the Sour Patch Kids. I'm not staying here. I've checked out and gone to the hotel across the street. You have a man living in the mattress and you're just like, I need another room?
Well, you don't want to invade his space, do you? I mean, you can't stay there. But I mean, you would tell somebody, right?
I would call
I need another room
police.
because I need another room because there's a man living in my mattress.
There's a half dead, half alive man in the mattress who's clawing his way out of the mattress. I don't know. This seems a little odd,
Yeah.
I mean, I've stayed in hotels where there was like a toothbrush left on the sink, and I go back to the front desk and I'm like, hey, look, sorry, I need another room. It's for a fucking toothbrush.
You're a little picky.
This is a man.
By the way, the guy's name is Ryan Suckup. It's Succop. He's the place kicker for the Buccaneers for Tampa Bay. Mm. But I can't believe you didn't. I mean, every time the announcers would, because he'd go out and kick the field goals, and every time the announcers would say, oh, they're going to send Suckup out. It was just funny to me. It's like, it's just a funny name. I can't imagine going through life with that name, especially through school, grade school.
Especially
Suck up, fuck up.
You haven't told everyone that your real name is actually Handy. It's not even Sandy.
I know it's handy.
Handy.
Sandy.
So anyway,
I mean, yeah, you got to be careful. Anyway, so
Rodman, American Horror Story, the hotel season sucked. Sorry, love you to pieces, but
watch The Undoing and see.
Yeah,
what
watch
you
The
think,
Undoing. Watch
Rodman.
The Outsider on HBO. You know, we can go to bat about season 1 through 3 of American Horror Story. I thought those were great, and after that, it was all fucking downhill. So sorry, buddy. But I wanted to get that in because that was a text literally right after.
We could have just lost our only.
I know
listener.
he's like, well, fuck them.
Fuck them.
Now we're just down to
Fuck
my cousin Brian,
moms,
who
man.
fucking knows what he does for a living. If you guys need to get a hold of us, you guys can check us out on Instagram at My Mom Sandy Podcast. You guys can email us, mymomsandypodcast@gmail.com. Or if you have my cell number, you can just text me directly and I'll talk about it on the podcast. Rodman, I'm looking at you, buddy. My cousin Brian. And yeah, that's all I got. We got a new episode every Tuesday.
I'm really sorry that we have different political views.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But I still love you.
I still love you as well.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we'll talk to everybody next week unless I go into anaphylactic shock or die. You never know. And if I do, you know what? Don't let that stop you from getting the vaccine.
God, what a way to end this episode, huh?
I know. I know. Why aren't you just coming and video and
you're like
taping this whole
if I
thing
get anaphylactic
tomorrow.
shock or die. All right, very good.
You should come tomorrow and
they're not going to let me in. They're not going to let me in with you.
And film the whole fucking we have an in.
They're not going to let me. There's 100% chance they're not going to let me in.
It's My Mom Sandy podcast filming.
Could you imagine? I go and I'm like, so do you guys have any extra fucking vaccines back there?
You have any lollipops for after I get my shot?
I don't want the lollipop. All right, wrap it up.
All right, very good.